Yes. What is up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting installment of the Qué Golazo podcast here on YouTube. I'm Jimmy Conrad, and I feel very lucky to be joined by, there's smart people out there, and then there's Martin Green, everybody, and he's joining us today to make us some money because he knows what's what with the best lines around the Champions League. Big games this week, match day 3 of the group stages. And all these games will be on Paramount Plus. So if you don't have Paramount Plus, what are you doing with your life? Make sure you go make that happen. All right, Martin, great to see you as always. And we're just going to jump right into it. And for me, one of the sexiest matchups in match day 3 is Atletico Madrid hosting the red-hot Liverpool. Now, I do want to add one caveat before we get your thoughts about this one. Atletico Madrid did not play this weekend. The game got postponed because of some of the players traveling back from CONMEBOL South American World Cup qualifiers. Do you think that plays into your betting at all as to who should be favored in this one? Because Liverpool did have a game and they played extremely well.
Yeah, I think Atletico players should be fresher for the game because they had the weekend off. But then there's the danger that some of them could be a bit rusty. They haven't played in a few weeks, especially the ones that weren't on international duty. And yeah, some of those South American players have only just returned. So I do think it makes me a little less confident in Liverpool, but I still think they can go there and get the job done, Jimmy.
Now, this is at the Wanda Metropolitano in Madrid. This is not an easy place to play. And as we know with Diego Simeone, he loves to win games 1-0. And even if he has talented attacking players, he handcuffs them to make sure they only win 1-0. There's no multiple goal games around Diego Simeone. However, these two clubs do have a history. That was the last game before COVID really hit, the pandemic hit, everything had to shut down at Anfield, and where Atleti surprisingly got a result to go through to the next round and knock Liverpool out. Do you think that factors in at all? Do you think Jurgen Klopp and or Diego Simeone is taking that into consideration? And then really, as it pertains to what you're bringing to the table, does that influence how you're leaning in this particular match or looking at history at all?
I think Jurgen Klopp's going to be desperate to win this game. He was so furious after Liverpool lost a couple of years ago. I remember he said, it doesn't feel right losing to a team like that. They don't play proper football. All they do is defend. All they do is counter-attack. He hates Simeone. I think he's going to really put one over on Simeone. I mean, since then, Atletico have gone on to win La Liga. You know, they've got Suarez up front, former Liverpool striker now. So I'd say they're perhaps a better team. But the thing for me is Stefan Savic is suspended and Jose Jimenez is probably going to miss out through injury as well from playing for Uruguay. He picked up a knock. So without your two best central defenders coming up against Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino, those three have been on fire recently. Thrashed Watford 5-0 at the weekend, beat Porto 5-1 in their last Champions League game. They're still unbeaten since Virgil van Dijk came back from injury at the start of this season. So I really can't see Liverpool losing. I could go for Liverpool draw no bet to be a bit more cautious, but I quite like Liverpool just a straight win at plus 125. I'm also looking at Salah to score at any time, plus 145. A lot of people saying he's the best player in the world right now, and he could be the man to make a difference against Atletico in this game, I think.
No, that's a great shout. I like where you're leaning. And it looks like because the two starting center backs for Atleti are going to be out, as you mentioned, Kondogbia might be the one that slots into the back three. When I look at this team from Atleti, just really quick before we move on to the next game, I mean, they got Luis Suarez. It looks like Joao Felix will end up starting as well. And then you have Correa, who was red hot to start the season. You got Carrasco, Rodrigo de Paul, Koke obviously is going to sit, but you got Thomas Lemar, Trippier. I mean, they have attacking options. It always blows my mind when they don't really seem to play to their potential. And you could see that they could explode at any time, but it's rare to see like a 5-0 win from Atleti. But to your point, I think Liverpool just are a little bit better on both sides of the ball and in current form. And I actually think Atleti not playing on the weekend, though theoretically should be fresher, there is something about getting back, having that first game before you get into the Champions League, kind of solve the problems of did we start the starting lineup. So as much as I feel like I like the value of the draw, plus 235, Liverpool at plus 125, it's going to be hard to find them with that type of action throughout this season.
Exactly, yeah, and Fabinho's going to come back for Liverpool, and Alisson's going to come back, so they're getting key players back from South America as well. And it was a pretty gentle game for them against Watford. I don't think they exerted themselves too much. They took a foot off the pedal in the second half there. So I think they'll be in pretty good shape for this game. I think they'll be desperate to win, and they've been really impressive so far in the group stage. Whereas Atletico, struggled to a 0-0 draw with Porto, and they were pretty unimpressive against AC Milan. Got the win because Kessié was sent off in the first half, but
I agree.
it wasn't a convincing performance. So, yeah, I have to go for Liverpool, even though they're the away team. Great odds.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think my favorite part about match day 3 in the Champions League group stages is that match day 4 is the reverse fixture of this one. So you get to see back-to-back and how the tactics play out of that. So that should be a lot of fun, especially with these two particular teams. All right, let's move on to the next one. And we got to get into PSG versus RB Leipzig. Now, PSG, say what you want about them. They've won 10 out of 12. And I think what's scary about PSG, and Martin, I think you would agree, we haven't really actually seen them play their best yet. And maybe that's because we don't know what their best starting 11 is, or they can't get everybody healthy at the same time. And that just feels like a sleeping giant in a lot of different ways, that they still haven't really cracked the code of what is going to be their best lineup, and everybody being settled and feeling comfortable about how they're going to move within this team. They might have too much talent, frankly. We've had this conversation before. Too many luxury players, maybe not having the balance that they want. Conversely, RB Leipzig at the bottom of the group, and them losing to Club Brugge in the last match day in Germany in match day 2, unacceptable, really. And I'm actually a little bit nervous as an American that Jesse Marsch could be. He's on the precipice. He's on the hot seat. I think they should definitely get third in this group, but it looks like that might not happen after losing to Club Brugge in match day 2. They need a result here, and I don't know if they're going to get it about PSG. Which way you're leaning? Show us the money, Martin Green.
Yeah, well, it suggests that selling your 2 starting central defenders in the summer probably isn't the greatest idea.
That's true.
Especially when you're bringing in a new manager. They also got rid of Sabitzer, their best midfielder. So the spine of that team has really been ripped out. And that was clearly evident in their heavy defeat to Man City and in the, very disappointing draw to Club Brugge. They were starting to find their feet a bit before the international break in the Bundesliga, but pretty disappointing 1-1 draw with Freiburg before the weekend. So things aren't looking great for them. Yeah, we're not quite sure what we're going to get from PSG yet, because they haven't, like you said, they haven't settled on their best starting 11, haven't had all the right players together at the right time. But the South American contingent should be back from this game. Messi's back, Neymar, Marquinhos. You have to look at
I know.
Going to crush them, aren't they?
They are. I want to add that the hosts, PSG in this particular instance, are perfect at home with 6 wins from 6. And they scored at least 2 goals every time they play at home, which included their pretty impressive 2-0 win over Manchester City. Messi scored his first goal for the club, and what a banger that was.
It was.
That said, PSG have kept just 2 clean sheets in their last 7. And RB Leipzig did go to Manchester and did score 3 goals. Christopher Nkunku in particular, red hot, second highest goal scorer in the Champions League right now behind Sebastian Haller from Ajax. Do you think that RB Leipzig will have enough here to get a goal? Because I'm actually leaning towards PSG winning, and both teams to score plus 185.
Yeah, I think that looks great. He's been on fire, and this is his former club, so he's going to want to show them what they're missing out on. So, yeah, I can see RB Leipzig nicking a goal, because Marquinhos will have only just come back, and they haven't quite found that identity in defence yet. I mean, they put a few goals past Man City, so they're no mugs going forward. They're a good attacking team. So, yeah, I would be looking at a reasonably high-scoring PSG win in this game. You can get plus 100 even money on PSG to win and 3 or more goals in the match, which I quite like, because
I
they
like that a lot too.
2-1, or they could go on and win 3-0. Who knows? All the games so far featuring them have been pretty high scoring in the Champions League. And yeah, it's probably about time that PSG show what they're capable of at home. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's tough. I want to honestly give some type of love and respect, obviously, to Jesse Marsch and RB Leipzig, because you can see they have the talent, but in some ways similar to PSG, I don't know if they've identified their best 11 just yet. And as you mentioned at the very beginning, not having the spine of their team, bringing in a couple really talented young defenders, but they're still young defenders, which means there's going to lack some consistency and some experience, which really matters in that part of the field. We'll see. I'm a little bit nervous if they get smoked here. Jesse Marsch could be in trouble.
Yeah, especially when you're facing Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe.
That's not fair.
Not great, is it?
That's not fair. All right, let's move on to the next one, which I actually think will be maybe the highest scoring affair in this match day 3, Ajax versus Borussia Dortmund. And I say that because, as I just mentioned, Sebastian Haller is leading the Champions League in goals so far after 2 match days. He's got 5, helps to score 4 against Sporting Club de Portugal on match day 1. And then Borussia Dortmund have Erling Haaland, who was the leading goal scorer in the Champions League last season. It looks like he's back and healthy after scoring a brace against Mainz this particular weekend. Where are you leaning on this one? Because if you're going to make any time to watch any of these games on Paramount Plus, this one's on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. How are you feeling about this one? Both teams to score must be like automatic money, but you probably have to bet quite a bit to make just $100 or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I was really excited by betting on both teams to score in this one, but I looked at the odds and the value isn't great, really. If you combine both teams to score with over 2.5 goals, you can get like minus 150, which is okay, but I still think you need to push it a bit further than that to make
Agreed.
it worthwhile. It's going to be a high-scoring game. It has to be. It'd be very disappointing if this one finishes 0-0. Ajax were terrific when they beat Sporting Lisbon 5-1. They beat Besiktas 2-0. They've also scored 32 goals in 9 league matches so far this season. It's outrageous the way they play. But Dortmund are just like that as well, aren't they? Very kamikaze style. They kind of attack, leave gaps at the back. Terrible in defence, concede lots of goals. So, I mean, the total goals line has been set at 3.5 goals. I can see it going over that. I could see 2-2, 3-2, something like that here. So that would probably be the way to play it for me. I can definitely see Ajax scoring twice. That's at minus 137 for Ajax over 1.5 team goals. I like the look of that. But yeah, lots of different ways to approach it. I just think we're going to see a lot of goals in this game, but I can't really say who's going to win it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like when I'm feeling this way, the draw is like the value that I kind of lean towards. What I find interesting about your stat about Ajax, 32 goals in 9 games. Well, the game that they played right before the international break, they lost 1-0 against Utrecht, which was a bit of a surprise. So actually it's 32 goals in 8 games, essentially. I mean, which is crazy that they're averaging 4 goals a game if you lose the Utrecht one. Now, with regard to Borussia Dortmund, what I think is interesting is that though they've scored 22 times in 8 Bundesliga games, they're terrible defensively. They've conceded more goals than 3 members of the division's bottom 5. And I think 2 of those 5 are just recently promoted. So it makes sense for them to, 2 of those 3. So I do think there's going to be some goals in this one. And when I look at the front 3 for Ajax, Sebastian Haller, Dusan Tadic is a beast. And then Antony's really coming along nicely for Ajax and for Brazil when he gets his minutes with the Brazilian national team. So, yeah, it's going to be a great game. I mean, I think this one's going to be a fun one to watch. I think I'd probably lean towards the draw. But Sebastian Haller to score anytime, plus 105, I was looking at as well. Both teams to score in the draw, plus 333. That's kind of where I'd be splashing it. But I'm going to defer to Martin Green. So everybody should be listening to him and less me. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Manchester United versus Atalanta. Lot to unpack here because Man United obviously coming off a pretty serious defeat, 4-2 to Leicester City. Atalanta, conversely, winning 4-1 away from home against Empoli. Duvan Zapata scoring his 100th goal in Serie A, the first Colombian to do that in Italy, which is very cool for him in particular. They seem to be rounding into some good form, Gianpiero Gasperini's team, whereas Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I don't know. I mean, it's hot and cold with that guy. Yes, he's got it figured out. No, he doesn't. It seems every week it seems to switch. Where do you see in this one? Because at Old Trafford isn't the fortress that it used to be.
Certainly isn't, and it certainly wasn't a very good performance for them at the weekend. Harry Maguire returned from injury, but he was awful against his former club, and they conceded 4, lost 4-2 to Leicester. So the pressure really, really badly on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now. But Rafael Varane's still out injured. Victor Lindelof looks very unconvincing alongside Maguire in defence. And none of that bodes well for the visit of Atalanta. I watched their game against Empoli and they were absolutely terrific. They're back to their chaotic best, scoring loads of goals, conceding all the time, winning high-scoring games. They're the top-scoring team in Serie A for the last 3 seasons because they just attack. And they've got their 2 best forwards back. You mentioned Zapata. He was on the bench, but Luis Muriel's back and Josip Ilicic is back, and they were both terrific. Zapata came on and scored, and it just shows what attacking depth they've got in that team. Could really cause problems for Man United, I think, in this game. So I'm not convinced that Man United get the win here. Atalanta look really slick for me right now. Can see both teams scoring. I'd be keen to give Atalanta like a plus 0.75 Asian handicap. I think they can get a result here. Draw perhaps, or perhaps sneak a win. If they do lose, I can't see them losing by more than a single goal. I also like both teams to score in over 2.5 goals in this, a minus 125. and Ronaldo to score, -120. Have to go.
I was going to say, can you sleep on Manchester United when they have the best player in Champions League history in their team with Ronaldo? Even though we can make a strong argument tactically, I don't know if he really fits with the rest of the guys. And then in some ways, I think he gets in the way of some other big names that they signed, most notably Jadon Sancho. Do you feel like it's a tough one? I mean, we could unpack this and probably have a 30-minute video on this just alone, but you know, do you think it's enough just to have Cristiano Ronaldo in your team for them to get a result?
Not necessarily. I mean, it didn't work at the weekend against Leicester. He was very quiet, but he does seem to come alive in the Champions League. These are the nights that he relishes, and obviously they're going to pick that game apart against Leicester and figure out what went wrong and try to create more chances for him. You know, he's got the likes of Fernandes around him, Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood. I think they should create plenty of chances in this game because Atalanta leaves so many gaps at the back. So I think, he can put it right, and I can see him getting on the score sheet in this one. Whether that's enough to beat Atalanta, I'm not sure, because I can also see them scoring in this one too.
Yeah, this game for me got 2-2 draw written all over it for whatever reason. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair and should be a lot of fun, unless you're a United fan and you're probably going to continue to suffer. All right, final game that we're going to talk about, Chelsea versus Malmo. This one's at Stamford Bridge. And I wanted to highlight this one because I feel like Malmo's got some strong Brentford vibes. That if they're going to go out there, well, they got nothing to lose, right? They've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And I feel like if I'm the Malmo coach, I am, and just the team overall, everybody involved, I'm watching what Brentford did very well against Chelsea this past weekend. I'm like, let's try to replicate that the best that we possibly can, because very similarly, we're not going to have the talent to go toe-to-toe with these guys, but we don't want to necessarily sit back and be afraid. Do you take that into consideration, or do you think this is going to be one-way traffic and Chelsea's going to run all over them? Even though Chelsea haven't been playing particularly well before the break and even after it, they didn't look that great against Brentford.
No, I'd like to see the starting 11 in this game because Lukaku's gone 6 games without scoring. He does look a little bit tired, but if he plays, I can see him terrorising this Malmo defence. He's really going to want to get back among the goals, and Malmo could prove to be the perfect opponent. They were all over the place when they lost 3-0 to Juventus in their opener. They lost 4-0 to Zenit St. Petersburg last time out. And to make matters worse, their best player, Anel Ahmedhodzic, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, he was sent off, so he's going to be suspended for this game. So going to Stamford Bridge with a -7 goal difference after 2 games with your best defender suspended doesn't fill me with a great deal of confidence. I've been pretty impressed with Brentford, to be fair, this season. I'm not sure Malmo are quite at that level. I was looking for ways to find some sort of value on this game.
Yeah.
In the end, I was looking at the handicap line. It's been set at -2.5 goals. That's quite steep, but Juventus covered it. Zenit St. Petersburg covered it. So I see no reason why Chelsea can't cover it at Stamford Bridge. If Lukaku plays, I want to see that starting 11. But if he's in the lineup, I think they can cover it. What do you think? What would you go for in this game?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. I actually wanted to lean into you. Like, where do you find value when it's so one-sided? And really, just to make it a quick comment about Lukaku being tired. I mean, it must be tiring to carry Timo Werner on your back the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you're just like, I can't do it anymore. And it looks like actually Lukaku's trying to bring in the other players a little bit more. And maybe he needs to be a little bit more selfish of just when you get it in the box. I know you're looking for those easy tap-ins for the other guys, but it's okay to shoot from time to time. And I think this could be a team to bust the slump, as they say, slump buster in Malmo. I think he'll start because I think that Tuchel can see what we can see is like we need to get him scoring again and getting confident and hitting those shots. That said, Tuchel has an amazing track record with Chelsea in this competition of winning by 1 goal for whatever reason. Doesn't matter the opponent. They seem to just squeak by. I could see a 1-0 and I'd be like, all right, that sounds about right for Thomas Tuchel. I don't know. This was a really hard one for me to, because they're so one-sided on William Hill and Caesar Sportsbook to figure out like where the best value is here. So I wanted to actually pick your brain as to how do you even, navigate the high seas of the sports books to find the best value when Chelsea's so heavily favored.
Yeah, I have to say this wasn't among my top picks because Chelsea were such heavy favourites. And like you say, they do have a tendency to grind out low-scoring wins. It is just really difficult. You can normally look to markets like win to nil, but there's no value in that on this game.
Right.
Or you can look at Chelsea to win an under 3.5 goals, but you need a book that allows you to create same game parlays, and you don't even get that much value on this one here. So it does seem like the sports books don't particularly want us to bet on this game unless we're going to go for the handicap line. And
right.
I can't see Malmo scoring in this game. They've drawn a blank in both matches so far. Chelsea very, very strong in defence. So it's just a question of whether they can score 3 goals for me. And it's going to be tight. But if Lukaku plays, just because I think he's so desperate to get back among the goals, I can see them just about covering it. But yeah, I have to admit that this definitely isn't one of my top games for the weekend.
Well, they call it gambling for a reason, Martin. You got to gamble sometimes, right? High risk, high reward, and this is probably one of those games. So choose wisely, as we like to say. Now, I'm going to give you the platform here, Martin. There's other games that are obviously going on. The Porto AC Milan game looks like a good one as well. Are there any other games that stand out for you that maybe we can get some good action?
Yeah, I do like the Porto AC Milan game, actually, because I thought Porto were very unimpressive in that 5-1 defeat to Liverpool last time out. Milan have lost both their games so far, but I think they were unlucky. 3-2 against Liverpool after taking the lead, and they were beating Atletico comfortably when Kessié was sent off and they conceded twice late on. I can see them getting back into it. -110 on AC Milan draw no bet looks great to me. Can't see them losing out there in Portugal. Bayern Munich, got to go back to Bayern Munich. They're playing away at Benfica. I've got Bayern Munich to win and over 2.5 goals in the game at -105. That just looks great. I mean, that bet has paid off in 10 of Bayern's 12 games so far this season. The only ones it didn't was the first game of the season and a defeat, a 2-1 defeat before the international break. But they're always involved in high-scoring matches. I think they'll have too much quality for Benfica. I'm also, just finally, quite like the look of Sevilla to beat Lille. Lille have just gone so far backwards this season. Obviously, they won Ligue 1 last year, but manager left in the summer. They're currently 11th. They lost 2-0 to Clermont Foot at the weekend, which doesn't inspire me with much confidence at all. You know, Sevilla are near the top of La Liga. Very, very good team. Missing their striker in En-Nesyri, which is a bit concerning. But at +120, call it gambling. At +120, I'm gonna gamble on Sevilla.
All right, I appreciate you, Martin Green. So thank you so much for your time, and I love that you have the last name of Green, and we're talking about the money, baby. That's what I love.
Yeah, we're trying.
All right, Martin. Until next time, we appreciate you. Great to have you on the show. And then for everybody else, thank you for watching and/or listening. Make sure you follow the Qué Golazo podcast on Twitter at Qué Golazo Pod. Subscribe to the Qué Golazo page on YouTube. And of course, hit that notification bell. It's easy. It's just another click. Just do it. Make it happen for us. And of course, subscribe to Qué Golazo wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we'll see you soon. Later.